Good evening, welcome to ITV News in Wales. The parents of a 6-day-old baby who died after she was pulled from her pram and bitten by the family dog say they hope her death will raise awareness of the dangers dogs can pose. An inquest heard that Eliza May Mullane was left in her pram for just moments and that no one could have prevented or predicted the attack which killed her in February. Joe Davies reports.
Eliza May Mullane was just 6 days old when she was killed by a pet dog at her home. Today, an inquest heard details of exactly what happened. It was on February the 18th that the tragedy unfolded at the family house in Pontyberem. The court heard that Eliza May's mother, Sharon Mullane, had put the baby in a pram so she could take another of her children outside to get a taxi to school. It was then that the dog pushed past her into the house and in the few moments that followed pulled the baby from the pram and inflicted fatal wounds on her. 2 pet dogs, an Alaskan Malamute and a terrier, were destroyed 2 weeks later. Neither animal had shown previous signs of aggression. In a statement read out during today's hearing, Eliza May's father, Patrick, said he hoped the inquest would raise public awareness of the potential dangers family dogs can present to very young children. I hope Sharon, the children and I can move on from this sadness and recall with joy the short time we spent with Eliza May. Recording a verdict of accidental death, the coroner said there was no way Sharon Mullane could have foreseen what happened. The family have now been left to move on as best as they can from a terrible tragedy. Joe Davies, ITV News.
Now then, the son of a late merchant seaman has developed an interactive experience for people visiting his grave. Charles Davies died back in 2012.
But now, thanks to his son Joe, anyone with a smartphone or tablet computer can learn more about what he did during the Second World War. We sent our Joe Davies to find out more.
The bare facts of a person's life is what we're used to seeing when visiting their grave. But visitors to the final resting place of merchant seaman Charles Davies at North Cornelly Cemetery in Bridgend can benefit from a much greater insight into his life story, thanks to smartphone technology. Charles Davies served in the Arctic convoys during the Second World War, dubbed the suicide missions by many taking part, and he survived the infamous PQ-17 Journey to Hell.
The order was given to abandon ship. And my father and his crew mates spent 10 days in an open lifeboat exposed to the harsh Arctic elements. And they survived on wild ducks and they were able to light a fire and so forth with driftwood.
Charles's son Joe is an IT developer. He says the idea to bring his father's grave to life was inspired by his sister.
My sister Ruth had mentioned to me that she'd seen the use of barcodes, QR codes in particular, being used in a cemetery in England. And so we sort of hit on the idea of, well, let's do the same for our dad.
All you need is a smartphone or tablet computer to learn more about Charles's time spent at sea.
You can just go up to the QR code with your phone using a special app that you can download from the iPhone website. And basically it'll take you straight to the memorial website and you can read all about my dad's exploits and see the photographs.
A fitting way to remember a much-loved family man whose story, with the help of technology, will live on. Joe Davies, ITV News.
Cardiff City manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has cancelled his team's planned warm weather training in Abu Dhabi. It's after Cardiff's worst defeat at home since April 2000. Joe Davies reports.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer made 4 changes to his team for their visit from Hull. By the final whistle, he had watched his side concede as many goals. Jake Livermore's powerful shot, the 4th from the visitors to find the back of the net, to cap a miserable day for Cardiff City. But for better luck early on, how different it might have been. Wilfried Zaha's strike tipped over the bar. Moments later, Kenwyne Jones put in a strong run, only to be denied. Tom Huddlestone's 18th minute deflected shot gave Hull the lead. Jones came close to equalising, his header just wide of the post. Jake Long's cross found Jelavic, whose shot escaped the hands of keeper David Marshall. But Jelavic wasn't finished yet. After the break, the Croatian met Liam Rosinia's cross to score his 2nd of the match. Hull's biggest ever away win in the top flight. For Solskjaer, Cardiff's worst home defeat in 14 years. Joe Davies, ITV News.
Warren Gatland says his team are still in contention to win the Six Nations after last night's 27 points to 6 win against France in the Millennium Stadium. The victory was a welcome relief for the coach and his players, who suffered a humiliating defeat to Ireland in Dublin 2 weeks ago. Joe Davies has our report.
Lights down, strobing spotlights, flames shooting towards the closed Millennium Stadium roof. Wales could hardly have asked for a more inspiring build-up to last night's test against the French after their crushing defeat against Ireland in Dublin. And it didn't take Wales long to put their Dublin debacle behind them. Lee Halfpenny's kick and chase working in George North's favour, who was ready to capitalise on a loose ball. France lock Pascal Papé was ruled offside at the ruck, Halfpenny turning the penalty into 3 points. Wales 11-0 ahead inside 10 minutes. It looked like France might have scored minutes later, before referee Alain Roland ruled the visitors had knocked on. After the break, Louis Picamol was sent to the sin bin. France a man down. Wales seized the opportunity to score. Captain Sam Warburton crossing the line with Wales's second try.
The last 2 weeks training, a lot of attention to detail. Everybody's really knuckled down, and it was the hardest I've seen us work. For a while, we really sort of wanted to put things right.
When you're involved in a game that doesn't go your way, then you want the chance to go out there and put things right. And I think, we made a change at 9 for a number of reasons. I thought Rhys Webb did exceptionally well, but I thought the players really responded, to the last 2 weeks of training.
Relief all round for the players and the fans. The dream of a third Six Nations title in as many years lives on. Next stop, Twickenham in 2 weeks' time. Joe Davies, ITV News.
Sport now, and Wales secured a 17-7 victory against Tonga in the Millennium Stadium tonight. The win was a rather fitting way to celebrate the 100th time coach Warren Gatland's been in charge of an international team. Joe Davies reports.
Wales had waited 4 years for an autumn international win. So after last weekend's convincing victory against Argentina, a Friday night fixture with Tonga was an ideal opportunity to make it 2 on the bounce. It was Lee Halfpenny who secured the crucial break. For Cardiff Blues centre Owen Williams breezed past the Tongan defenders to score the first try of the match. Much of the talk before the game was about Wales's injury crisis, but their centre pairing proved they were more than up for tonight's test, Ashley Beck complimenting Owen Williams' efforts with a try of his own. Wales weren't without their defensive weaknesses though, as Tonga converted a set-piece opportunity into a try just after the half-hour mark. It was a much-changed side, the one that faced Argentina, and after the break, 19-year-old Hallam Amos came close to scoring on his international debut. Wales secured the win they wanted, but with no score in the second half, Warren Gatland's side know they'll have to improve before their final autumn test against the Wallabies in 8 days' time. Joe Davies, ITV News.